Hey everyone, how's it going? I don't know if you think about this a lot, but by the end of the year, especially when October is falling in, I was thinking about how my year went. And I was kind of introspecting into my own work, and I found some amazing results. And I don't know if this happens with you, but it happens to me a lot. At the beginning of every single year, we have a lot of energy, and we think a year is a huge amount of time to achieve lots and lots of things. And to bring statistical context into this fact, a year is actually a huge amount of time. If you improve by 1% every single day, you become 37 times better by the end of the year. And if you degrade by 1% every single day, you tend to become zero. Now, to put it into an example based context, I was pretty good at matrix and determinants back then when I was in class 12th. But right now, I don't even fucking remember what the hell it was. And I obviously know the basic stuff because it's required in computer science, but not much. And back then in class 12, I had no freaking idea how an app works. But right now I can build any app that I can think of. So that led me to this thought of how huge a year actually is and how we can increase our productivity in this year and achieve twice or thrice more that we have achieved this year.
So I was recently going through this book called 12-Week Year, and I realized how powerful periodization can be in our life. And I also have seen that in my first year of my college. So basically periodization is this idea that is used by athletes where they live in 4 to 6 weeks experiments. And after visiting that book, I myself am going to try out that in my life. So my goal for the next 12 weeks would be to learn web development and master it and build a nice looking portfolio along with getting some really quality clients either from freelance or other sources. And in this video, I am going to share with you the 5 pointers that I am going to use to fully utilize the last quarter of this year. So let's begin.
Now, part 1 being converting your vision into achievable goals. Now, vision is a very self-helpy kind of a word that's moving around the internet and is often used by self-help gurus, but if used very right, it can become a great compass to your life. And famous Silicon Valley investor Peter Thiel always says and also writes in his book called 0 to 1, where he says, think and envision your life in the next 10 years and try to achieve the same results in the next 6 months. Now, it might sound very, very unrealistic to a college student because we don't have any freaking idea what our life 10 years from now might look like. But bringing it into a more relatable context, if you shorten that period of 10 years into 2 to 3 years, we often have an idea what we will be doing after the end of our college. And taking that as a vision, for example, you might want to get into a FANG company, that might be your vision. You might want to become a remote software developer or digital nomad. You might have a vision of becoming financially independent. You might have a vision of becoming an entrepreneur by the end of the college. And that's completely fine. That's your vision. Now, once you have your vision in your head, you have to develop a pathway to achieve that vision. Now, this path might change in future, but we'll talk about it later. But first of all, brainstorm and develop a pathway with which you can achieve that vision. And find out goals, achievable goals, that you think will give you a significant push towards that vision. For example, in our case, we had a vision of becoming financially independent by the end of the college. So we started with, let's earn by renting out our skills, renting out our time. So we are thinking of building this cool portfolio and showing off our work by the end of these 3 months and being hired as remote freelancers. So basically, to conclude, take your vision, convert that vision into achievable 3 months or 12 week sprints and try to accomplish that. When you accomplish each one of those sprints, that will give you a significant push towards your vision.
So once you come up with your short 12-week goal like learning web development, and just a side note, if your goal is really to learn web development, then we have got you covered, as we have already made a video in which we have discussed in detail the roadmap and the free resources through which you can really learn web development quickly. If you're a newbie, then this idea of learning web development in 12 weeks might sound crazier to you, but let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I have already my hands dirty on the backend thing, so it's going to be a little bit easier for me to learn web development as compared to what it's going to be for a newbie. But yeah, let's discuss about weekly plan. So the best way to actually do it is by first breaking down your web development learning goal into weekly doable chunks so that it becomes more trackable and more doable.
For example, in context of web dev, we have devised a plan, for example, basics of HTML, CSS and JavaScript and DOM manipulation in 1 week, practice some projects, then advanced CSS and SAS in 2 weeks, then React for 4 weeks, and practice those existing skills for 2 weeks, then brush up your backend skills for 2 weeks, build your portfolio. And we have converted this huge goal of getting into freelance by showing up our portfolio into achievable weekly targets. And that's how you can figure out a game plan of this 12-week sprint. You can simply use a note-taking app for this purpose, but I try and tend to incline towards using pen and paper because that actually gives a real feel of the game and makes you more moved and encouraged and earthly towards your goal.
So I often tend to skip this step because it actually forces me to face the ugly reality, which often is not that much pleasant. For instance, open up your phone and check for how many hours have you used your phone in the past 24 hours and then multiply it by 300. So that's the approximate hours you have used your phone in the last year. That might be a little bit depressing and unpleasant for you, right? But this is the best tool to actually judge yourself and is analogous to the mock test that we gave during our JE. So if you check the result of a JE preparation and you have not performed well, it might be a little bit depressing for you, but that was the real reflection of what you have done in the test, right? So I generally prefer to give myself an efficiency score at the end of the day based upon how many tasks I have achieved from my to-do list, and the same goes for the weekly. Even if you can achieve like 85% of what you have planned in your daily or weekly goals, then believe me, it's going to take you to the next level real quick.
Part 4. Don't change the plan and keep going. Now this happens with me a lot. I tend to change the plan in between the sprint, and I actually spend a lot of time visualizing what else can we do, what are the other sources that we can tap into, what are the other more possible idealistic pathways. That's all a bullshit use of your time. Believe me, that's not at all a good usage of your time. So step 4, once you have thought of how your 12-week sprint will look like and you have planned it, step 4 is to execute that plan and do not change that plan until your sprint period is over. And I say this because planning is the process that can give you a dopamine hit and make you feel like you're doing a lot of progress without actually doing any progress. And if you're interested in learning more about this sort of intrinsic motivation kind of behavior and about dopamine voids and all that stuff, you can watch a couple of videos that might appear in the I section.
So once you have completed for around 85% or even more than that of your target, you can actually have a rest. Now that's a great achievement if you have completed 85% of your target. Take a couple of days as rest and just analyze what went right and what went wrong, and then plan accordingly for the next 12 weeks. So this was the very idea behind the 12-week year, in which you can divide your complete year, which is of course of 12 months, into 4 mini years and then achieve twice as more as you could have done while planning for a complete year.
Generally, if you're a college student, the best utilization of those 12-week sprints or 3-month period would be pick up a skill that pays really well in the market. And once you have your skill, just learn that skill from Udemy or free courses from YouTube. Learn that for 3 months and use the next 3-month sprint to master that skill. Now, this will ensure you 2 guaranteed skills by the end of every single year. So by the end of 1 year, you would have 2 skills. By the end of 2, you will have 4. And by the end of 3 freaking years, you will have 6 skills. And as we all know that multiple skill sets is where the value really lies. And the more value you can put on the table if you have a lot of skill sets, because your brain will start connecting the dots and thinking multilingually. Now that's a topic for the next video in the future.
So, if you are interested in learning skills, building finance in college, or entrepreneurship, etc., then do check out our Discord server where we occasionally hang out and brainstorm ideas.
Like the video, share it with your friends in your WhatsApp group, and if you find our content valuable, then do check out our other videos and subscribe to this channel. And till then, keep hustling.